Okay. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So, good evening, respected faculty members and my dear guest speakers. Today, we are in the second session of the webinar series organized by the Department of Biotechnology, Haldia Institute of Technology. The topic for this webinar session is Potential Prospects in BTech and MTech Biotechnology in the New Post COVID Era. Well, today's session is mainly focused on the higher studies aspect of biotechnology. Like after BTech, how okay, so we all have our speakers with us now, and our first speaker for the evening is Dr. Ankita Sharkardi. She's a scientist from Cornell University, CU, Wayne Institute of for Cell and Molecular Biology. Hello, Dee. Uh, Ankita Di, are you there?
Hello everyone, am I audible?
Yeah. Okay, great. So, hello Dee, welcome aboard to our webinar session, and on you go.
Well, thank you first of all. Thank you, Yeshna, and I would like to start by thanking everyone who's given me the opportunity to speak here today. It's a great pleasure, especially Dr. Mukesh Singh, who invited me for this talk this evening. I feel extremely obliged to be a part of the Department of Biotechnology at Haldia Institute of Technology, and it's just it feels really great to be able to come here and share my experience and hopefully motivate some of you in taking up biotechnology for your future career goals. So I just realized that since the topic is mostly about the future of biotech, or especially in higher studies, post-COVID era, I figured that instead of giving a more generalized aspect of what's going on and where things might turn up in the next couple of years, I have kept it a little bit more personalized, giving the terms that I have gone through certain experiences based on my career decisions over the past couple of years, especially 7 years since I left HIT. And so I've kind of, instead of putting a lot of biotechnology jargons and terms, I've tried to keep it very simple. And I've tried to tailor my slides in a very personalized manner, just giving a very simple overview of the various experiences I've faced and what led me to make the choices and decisions that I have taken. And I would also like to mention that I'm open for any question answer round later on, and please feel free to reach out to me anytime if you have further questions. Saying that, I would like to just open up my screen just to share a little bit more about what I just discussed. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, Dee, now it is.
Okay. So again, thank you so much. So I figured that before starting my talk, it's better to give a very brief timeline about my personal experience and factors that I have considered or that has led me to make my career decisions. So as you can see here on the left side of the screen, so 2008 is where I started thinking about biotech for the very first time. I have been enjoying biology throughout my school years. I've enjoyed the subject a lot, but thinking in terms of career decisions had never came before 2008. So there are a couple of things that really was kind of playing up in my mind during that time. And one of the bigger questions And I would like to emphasize on this is that a purpose. I think that at least that's what I thought in 2018, and I think I have the same value system even today. I feel like whatever we do or whatever choice we make in life doesn't matter which field we are going into. I've always tried to look at the bigger purpose. I don't want to think of it as just a career, a job that you get up every morning and go to. It should be something that you enjoy and are passionate about at the same time. So 2018 was the decision making year where I realized that I want a career that has a purpose, and also I wanted to be technically sound about the things that I really like. And I used to like biology a lot, and I think that even today I feel like, and especially after post COVID era, I think we all will agree to the terms that there has been a very distinct difference between essential and non-essential subject fields around us, and biotech is definitely one of the most essential field of interest. And so yeah, so the second point was augmenting my technical skills, and the third, which is the most interesting and I think the most versatile thing about biotech, is that the confluence of the basic science with engineering technology. So biotechnology engineering is such a field that gives you a very basic sense of the core science that goes on, and also it gives you an edge um, of the technical aspect over the technical aspects of the subject as well. And of course, the last and the most important point was make a real difference in the life sciences sector. That was my purpose. So basically, more or less, all these different factors led me in choosing biotechnology as my a course that I wanted to take up. So as you can see, next 2009 is where I started BTech in biotechnology in the Department of Biotechnology at Haldia Institute of Technology, and I'm so glad and so proud to be a member and an alumni of the department, especially given to our incredible professors and just people out there, all colleagues and friends, and all the different mentors that you find from time to time. And I think it's just a great department. I have been very lucky to have come across people who were very helpful and very supportive. And I've also had the opportunity during my BTech years to gain some lab research work experience under Dr. Mukesh Singh. I think I also published a paper. So overall, it was a very fruitful and fulfilling experience at Haldia. And so while doing my BTech in biotechnology, I did do an internship around the years 2012 and 11. So basically, I did it in two different kind of places. So I did one in an industry, that is TCG Life Sciences, also known as Chem Biotech, which is in Kolkata, and the other one I did at IIT Kharagpur. So I had two different purposes. I was always very curious about the bigger picture, in the field of biotech, and I wanted to gain experience in both the different sectors. That was my personal choice because I wanted to see how an industry runs. Because I always wanted to look at the more applicative part of the subject that I was studying. And I also did my internship for about 2 months at IIT KGP, which was also a very fruitful experience. So the third point here is the impact. So again, it kind of boils down to the same point here, where I would say that it's the impact of what you're studying, it's the impact of what you're learning on the society, on the people around you, and what kind of purpose-driven, work you are able to do or you can do in the future on a day-to-day basis that will actually make you love what you do. So, saying that, I graduated from Haldia Institute of Technology in the Department of Biotechnology on 2013. And since then, began a lot of thoughts. As usual, a lot of people, you know, especially when you're graduating, I think it's a very common thought. You have a plethora of choices, and you kind of want to stream it down and want to know, what you specifically want to do, or what would be more suitable. So in my case, it was more about I wanted to do something innovative. I wanted to, you can say it was more like because I had the research work experience. I think that's what motivated me a lot, and especially since I, published a paper, I thought that, probably that's something I would like to do in future, and definitely it was the innovation point. And I had started doing a little bit of networking, which is very important these days, actually, no matter which field you're in. And it's just about getting the exposure, knowing what is out there. It's knowledge is power, so obviously an extra knowledge never hurts. So you want to know what is out there. You want to talk to people. You want to talk to people who have been in your field before, and you want to talk to people who have gained the experiences, have graduated, and are somewhere today. And I'm so glad we're doing this because this is such a great initiative, I feel. Um, so the other part was also doing some independent research, and all these kind of led me to do my PhD. So again, around 2013, I started my PhD. I kind of joined. I got a full scholarship from University of Dayton, Ohio, and I joined the Department of Biology there. Though the main focus of my PhD was genetics and neurodegenerative diseases. Just to give a little bit of brief background about what I was doing, I was basically studying the different molecular and genetic pathways that are involved in Alzheimer's disease. Now, I have always been interested personally in a disease front because I thought that is where the more application can be. That has been my personal choice, and that has led me to select the kind of field I wanted in my PhD. So I had the fortune of doing PhD for 5 years, from 2013 till 2018, and that's when I wanted to, kind of take it up a notch and explore the field of research a little bit more. That kind of led me to do my postdoc. Fortunately, I got the opportunity at Cornell University here in Ithaca, New York, and I did my postdoc for 2 years, till this year actually. And finally, I decided that it was time I do something that I have been thinking right in 2008, which you guys can see. The point was to have a purpose and to do something applicative. So finally, in 2020, I got the opportunity to actually get involved, especially in this time, in something that I thought would make an impact on the society around me and the people around me. And that what led me to choose. I got a scientist position at Rionix. It's a molecular diagnostic company here in New York, and so basically it has a lot of impact. We are working a lot with COVID right now with the situation, and it's very fulfilling overall. And so yeah, so basically just this is just a brief timeline, and just to kind of give the key points as to what led me to take the career decision, if you may say so, over the span of these years from 2008 to 2020. So, obviously the bigger question now is, could I have arrived here from different routes? So, well, as we know today, there's ample opportunities out there, no matter what kind of job you want to do later on in life. But again, I would like to focus on the term, a job with a purpose. I think that's what is important. I mean, anyone can do a job, but to do what you love and to do what you would get up every morning feeling excited about is the most important part. And so, a couple things here quickly. So, related fields, as you can see, I've listed down a couple things, but that doesn't really limit us here. There's a lot more out there options, but the ones that I've listed are the ones that I've seen people go into. Um, Especially, I've seen, like, I have examples of people in front of me who have actually done a BTech in biotechnology and are excelling in these fields all over the world, actually. So, one of the most important thing to take away here is that BTech in biotechnology is a very vast field. It you actually open yourself up to a versatile subject fields, because you are not only now sound in the field of biology, but you also have a very good sense of the technical aspect of it. And right now, based on how the current scenario is, I think worldwide and especially in US here, um, things are happening at things are basically coming together. It's no more about just knowing one subject, one field, and working with it. The more versatile you are, the more you're opening yourself up to a lot of different options as you go along your career. So, uh, in terms of related fields, as you can see, there are biomedical engineering, you have the clinical technology, you have biomanufacturing, you have epidemiology, medical writing, and genetic counseling. All these are things which we don't, probably they are not something that we talk about every day. And, usually we always talk about a lot of, things that are most common and we see a lot of people doing, but there are so many other different routes that people take these days. And all of them are excelling differently. And especially, I would like to mention this here since I'm talking about the related fields. Right now, it's one of those critical times when this field is prospering, this field is really augmenting in a way that any knowledge, any background in biotech is actually going to take you really long way. So, secondly, I would like to talk a little bit about higher education here. So, since today's topic is mostly about higher education, I wanted to give an overview and then kind of come to this because I feel like the engineering in biotechnology itself opens you up to a lot of options, and higher education is definitely one of the perks that you can carry along with you for a long run. So, especially as we know, there is an option of MTech or a PhD. Other than that, we also have intellectual property rights law that you can do, and of course, we all know about MBA, which is gives you opens a door towards business-oriented careers with biotech firms, and there is of course public policy in biotech. So, in terms of MTech and PhD, I would just like to quickly mention since. I directly did apply for a PhD while I was doing my BTech in Haldia. I started applying while I was in third year of my BTech there, and I was applying for a direct PhD in US. And if you have good credentials, if you have a good GPA, if you have good recommendations, and if you can show some research work that you have done during your BTech, I think you can actually get into a direct PhD here, at least in US. And I think it worked out really well for me. And I thank all my professors and everyone who's given me a recommendation during that time. And and there are obviously other adjacent fields that are less known but is progressing rapidly all over right now, and that's artificial intelligence and data science. People actually who have done even after PhD or while doing your MTech, you can actually start looking into these options, artificial intelligence and data science, because things are coming together. And there are a lot of data scientists you see, even in biotech firms and biotechnology companies and biopharmas and stuff like that. There's a high demand for these kind of roles. And so, moving forward, I would like to talk again a little bit of personalized and tailored slide here. This is about my personal experience as an international PhD, as we are specifically talking about higher studies today. So overall, I think there are a lot of takeaways, but I just wanted to mention some of them here. Of course, to begin with, I think it's the in-depth technical knowledge. It's the invention and the discovery that you get. As a PhD here in a foreign land, it does require you to adjust to a lot of things in the beginning, which I'll come to later on. But I feel like one of the most fulfilling experiences was teaching, because when you do a PhD, I think that's a very academia is one of the most obvious career choices that you are expected to probably go into, or also probably a lot of us do PhD knowing that if we have a niche towards opening up something of our own and opening up your own lab maybe in the future and be a faculty, I think it's a great choice to make as well. So and other than that, I think the fourth point is the most important, is the scientific writing skills. I think especially in the field of biotechnology or the biology, if you're doing higher studies, scientific writing is a skill that is going to pay you in the long run. It's something that you actually gain over the years. It's not a thing that you learn overnight. It requires an experience of probably it requires your PhD experience. It requires your thesis writing. It requires you publishing papers while you are doing your PhD. So all these things actually lead to a very strong scientific writing skill build up, which I think is extremely essential. And it's not only about academia. Even if you want to go in an industry later on in life, there are a lot of scientific writer roles, and a lot of R&Ds actually look for scientists who can also write, in terms of scientific writing. So what I have learned here as a PhD or as a postdoc, writing is very different in terms of a normal, like you're writing a story or you're good at writing, doesn't mean you have to be good at scientific writing as well. It's a complete different jargon when it comes to science, and it's a different ball game when you're writing, trying to publish a paper and trying to write an overall story. You need to see the bigger picture. You need to know what experiments to put in. You need to know, the different, how you're going to build up your story, how you're going to impress a reviewer, how you're going to, even for grant writing, you need to know how you're going to impress the person who's actually going to grant you the money that you need for your experiment. So I would like to focus on the skills, and you can develop these things while even you're doing your BTech. I think so. Definitely, I think the key takeaways as a PhD for me and personally has been these four very important points here. Needless to say, I would, even though it's a little subtle, but I would like to talk about few transferable skills which we sometimes overlook, even as a PhD, because sometimes we become partial to what we're doing, and we are so focused on doing our experiments, getting our job done, publishing papers. Sometimes we lose focus on the extra skills we actually end up learning while doing a PhD. That is, first of all, time management, because you have a deadline of a certain paper. Especially what I've seen in this country here is that everything has a deadline. Even I'm pretty sure it's the same anywhere in academia. Especially when you're publishing a paper and your paper is already submitted. Now you've got a review from one of the peer-reviewed journals, so you are given a deadline of like probably 1 or 2 months, and you have to complete certain experiments and get back to them. So that's where time management skill comes handy, because you are managing so many things at the same time, along with doing experiment and doing several other bench work. The second thing is project management. Needless to say, when you're doing research, when you're doing a PhD, you are basically opening yourself up to managing several projects at the same time. Especially in terms of PhD, it's not just one project or one data that you deal with on a daily basis. You are actually handling a couple of 3 to 4 projects, or maybe 5 sometimes, together, and building up on them. And at the same time, you also start managing a lot of your, you also get the opportunity to mentor a lot of people along the way. So that's definitely one of the other skills. The third one is problem solving. I would like to term it more as troubleshooting in our case, because I feel that that's another very key, a very important aspect to learn, because one of the, especially in terms of experiment, I'm pretty sure a lot of you would agree with me. Even when you can plan something, you can have a hypothesis, you can just have your own deadline in mind. Not necessarily it's going to work out the way you always want it to be. There's always a loophole. There's always a glitch that might come back, and you need to be prepared for it. And the problem solving skill really comes handy in times like those. So, and finally, the collaboration or the teamwork, because that's important in any sector, anywhere you go. It's all about, having a teamwork attitude and having a collaboration skill with the other PIs other than your own lab, and also doing a teamwork with other graduate students in the lab, other PhD students, postdocs in the lab. That gives you a very, very sound and clear idea about how to work in an environment where people are benefiting from each other, at the same time working towards the same goal to achieve something in a timely manner. So And finally, I would like to talk a little bit about what are the things that you need to consider, though, to come for a PhD. Especially, I'm talking in terms of US here, since that's the experience I can share with you guys. Um, One thing I think is important is that to keep in mind that it's a 5 to 7 years commitment. In my case, it was a 5 year PhD. In a lot of cases, people actually do go from 6 to 7 years, and that's not um, rare. That's a very common timeline that I've given here. So it's definitely a 5 to 7 years commitment. But I think when if you have if you want to seriously do something with a purpose, and if you're passionate towards what you're doing and you love what you do, I think it's a time that is worth giving to, and it does pay you in the long run for sure. The other one, these are a couple, things that we need to consider. That is the visa and the scholarship. So right now, looking at the current situation, it may feel that things are a little tough down here because of all these lockdowns going on. But things are actually starting to look good in terms of the field. I'm not talking in terms of visa, but definitely in the field, and definitely there are prospects. I know a lot of students who are still applying and planning to come next year and stuff. So things obviously will open up in cases like these, but visa is something, because we come on a student visa when we start our PhD, and gradually you get a STEM OPT, and then you gradually if you get an H1 or whatever you want to do later, it's all step-by-step process. But usually when we come for a PhD directly, we get an F1 visa. And the last one is scholarship. So I think personally I would like to talk in personal terms here, because for me it was one of the most important factors when I was applying for a PhD. And I knew that I called up a couple of PIs here and spoke with them, and wanted to know what was the status. A lot of universities actually give you 100% scholarship, which I was fortunate enough to get. Though I know a couple of places which actually might not fund you over the first semester, but actually fund you full from second semester onwards till the end of your PhD. So knowing that, it's always, but you can always figure them out while you're applying at the same time. So, and last, at the corner of the screen, actually, I've kept this information for anyone who already, is a step ahead and probably thinking of PhD later on. It's the ets.org. I think that's the website that gives you the information of how to qualify, or what are the things you need to consider before giving a GRE, which is the qualifying exam you need to give before applying for a PhD in the US. So, finally, I would like to talk about if I were in your shoes, since I graduated a couple years earlier, and I realized that what's the best way to kind of know what people are looking for right now, because I've made this personalized. So I wanted to keep myself in your shoes and think of the factors that I would consider to make my next career decision if I was graduating today. And so I would like to first keep your focus on the left side of the screen, where this is a recent statement that came out from Nature in May 2020, which talks about biopharmaceutical companies are awash with more cash than at any time in the sector's history, but they are scrambling to prepare for the drought of COVID-19 related recession. So as you can see, definitely things are for biopharma, but for biotechnology field actually overall. This has become one of the most essential fields. You are actually serving something very essential to the society. If you are a part of the biotechnology team here, I think this is one of those incredible times where you can make a difference in the society, make a difference in the lives of so many people. And that's what, for me personally, that has been the most fulfilling. And I just feel so glad looking back that I made the right career choice. Starting from Haldia Institute of Technology, that was where my niche was. That's where I grew. That was the base. So, and from there, I think when I look back and when I think of of course, there has been periods of hard work, and you kind of have to maintain and keep going at it with passion and love, and because you start loving it, because you get to feel that what you're doing is actually impacting someone, and that gives a fulfillment, that gives a very good feeling at the end of the day. So so in the current scenario, there are a couple of things that I would consider right now is biotech work, as I said, biotech work is more than just a job right now. It's actually one of the most essential fields and something that it's very fulfilling. Second is it's an essential service field, and there are a plethora of related professional fields opening up. So it's not only about once you are done with biotechnology, it's not like you are constricted to a certain area. You are actually open to a lot more options out there. As I mentioned, a couple of them before, and there are of course other things that are opening up. It's not about just confining yourself to a technical degree, or thinking in terms of, okay, so this is just because I know the science and just because I know the technical aspect, that's only where I can, excel at. There, once you have a biotechnology engineering degree, you are actually open to versatile options, which I mentioned before. Of course, you have a direct impact on human lives in the long run, I think, which is the most important part for me. And you actually can have purpose driven accomplishments. And of course, last but not the least, it's the opportunity for challenging innovations. And I think it's a very intellectually satisfying field, because you're continuously challenging things that are making difference in the society. And what more could I have asked for personally? So yeah, so saying all this, I just wanted to keep it, very simple and something that was very tailored to my experience. And but I'm open to any questions that you have regarding any higher studies or anything, any other fields that if I can, or if I have knowledge, I would definitely like to share it with you guys. So
Yes,
with that,
ma'am.
I open up question. Thank you.
Okay. That was really enlightening, ma'am. And we do have a couple of questions for you. So I would be reading out the questions one by one. All right.
Sure.
Is it very important to complete MTech degree if I want to pursue in R&D sector?
Well, I won't say it's very important in a field. I would say BTech is definitely important, but for MTech, I feel like it depends. If you're doing if you want to do a PhD directly, or if you want to, thinking of going to an R&D directly after BTech. So if you're thinking of doing a PhD, then probably in my case, especially that I did a PhD, I applied for a direct PhD, so I didn't have to go through an MTech phase because I was already, applying for an integrated PhD here in US. But I'm pretty sure if you wanna, always I would say that having an extra technical skill set doesn't hurt, especially if you're wanting to go for an R&D. Because they definitely look for people who have experience, project experience, research experience, because that's what you do. It's research and development sector of an industry. So MTech actually allows you to, have your research thesis, and which, sometimes in BTech we don't get the opportunity because we have so much coursework to complete, right? So it definitely helps having an MTech, especially if you're not planning to do a PhD in the long run.
Okay. Like MTech is better if you have it, but if you don't have it, also you can go forth, right? That's what you meant.
So no, I would like to say that actually, even if you like, if you're trying to go for a, after just a, I think what matters is, they will always look for research experience. They will always look for your technical skills and background. So you want to be sound, like, in the field of research. So I think, I don't know how, I'm not very sound about how things are working at R&D sectors in India right now, but I can definitely say for United States, here people do go for R&D sectors, but you don't get a scientist position if you're just coming with a BTech.
All right. That actually leads us on to our next question, which is usually students who are interested in research enroll for a master's program, then convert to a PhD. But if anyone wants to appear for PhD after completing BTech, what are the criteria they would need to fulfill? Sorry.
So if I'm understanding the question right, somebody's asking that if it's possible to go directly to PhD from a BTech, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, I did, right. So
enroll for a master's program and then convert to a PhD.
Like, yeah, sure. I think that's very much possible. You can, yeah, sure. You can actually start, just go for a master's program if you want to do a master's separately, and then you can, while doing your master's, actually you can get a PI, and you can actually start even talking about scholarships with them while you're here. And it's actually easier in a way that since people know you, since people know that you are part of like their team now because you're working, they know you personally, that has an effect. So you might actually end up getting a PI that you like. You might end up working with a PI that you like here. So the criterias are specifically, I think you need to have a GRE score, and especially, and also if you have a research experience with the PI previously, that really helps.
All right. Okay. So the next question I would like to move on to is, what is, you mentioned scientific writing, right? So if you can explain a bit more about the scientific writing, like what it is and how do you like comments onto scientific writing?
So okay, so I would focus on what I have learned, and with my experience. So scientific writing is it's an art. It's a skill where you basically learn to write in the language of science. It doesn't mean that I can write a good English essay or a good English paragraph. Doesn't mean that I'm good at scientific writing as well. These are very two different aspects which I have learned over the years. Just writing in a very good, just having the skills of writing doesn't mean you have good scientific writing, because scientific writing requires you to think in a more bigger perspective. Especially, for example, I'll just explain with an example. For example, if you're, in my case, if I'm trying to publish a research paper on Alzheimer's, per se, and I'm trying to look at a certain signaling pathway or a molecular pathway. So I need to know. So basically, what I'm doing here, when I'm writing something scientifically, I'm trying to write a paper and I'm trying to get it published. And what does that mean? I'm trying to sell my idea to a group of people, to a group of reviewers in a peer-reviewed journal, and tell them that, hey, you know what? This is the story. This is what I've figured out. This is my take. This is what I've discovered, and I feel it's a great idea, and I think you should feel the same way. So basically, I'm trying to tell the other person in front of me that I'm trying to sell the idea. Just sell an idea. How they do in business as well. So basically, you're just
Yes.
giving them something that you have discovered and telling them that I'm excited. I want this to be published. I hope you feel the same way. So in order to do that, you need to actually make your story up in a way where the other person actually will feel excited at the same level as you do when you're writing the paper. Because we are very partial, especially in terms of research. When we're doing our own stuff, we think we're doing a great job, and of course we are, because we are very passionate and we are loving what we're doing. And sometimes that actually can make us a little partial, because we have been looking at our own writing for so long, and we've been talking about it so much in the lab. Sometimes you lose the bigger vision. I think that's an art that you learn during your PhD, because you have to kind of see the bigger picture, know the bigger question you're trying to ask. Because the person in front of you might ask you, so what? Like, you have learned this particular thing, but what is the bigger impact on it, or why should we publish that in the journal? So that brings you to a point where you have to talk about the bigger picture, talk about the bigger takeaway message from your paper. But at the same time you also have to convince them that your data is very unique and solid, and that's what should be taking up for you, because that's what they should be excited about, because you are contributing to the field in a very unique way, and you think which you think you deserve. But that's the reason you feel like you deserve to get published in that particular area. So what I'm telling here is that these are just the things that you think in your mind, but this is what you actually have to bring out in your writing, and that's what
Okay,
science.
so that convincing skill, it's like selling the idea. How the better you sell the idea, the better the scope you have, right?
So it's not about just better, because see, we usually have a lot of, I'm going with the terms that when somebody's trying to publish in a good journal, he or she automatically has a very good data. Otherwise, your data has to be novel. Those are very basic skills that I'm talking about, that anybody, I think, in academia will agree that that's just the basic requirement that we have, that you need to have data which are sound, which are unique, which are actually contributing to the field. But even after having all those, there are a lot of papers which just gets rejected, for the lack of, for the lack of explanation, or for the lack of, convincing the peer reviewer that hey, this is the paper you should actually publish, or things like that. So that is where the scientific skill comes in. Your data, of course, has to be good. It has to be authentic. It has to be something that is contributing immensely to the field, unique in a very unique way. Those are just the basic criteria, but I'm talking it on building upon that. That's the, after that comes the scientific writing, where you are actually trying to, even for grant, even when you're running a lab, and you want to apply for a grant, and you're if you're writing to NIH or any other places here, especially asking for money for your research project, that has to be a reason why they want to fund you. They want to fund you for years, or they want to fund you for your research project. And that's where the scientific writing comes in. You're talking about your AM hypothesis. You're talking about the kind of methods you're using, how it's going to benefit the field, um, how it's going to impact your peers there. So these are the things, but it's easier to say, because I'm saying a lot of pointers here, which are easier to say. But when you're writing it down on a paper, it's very different. It's a very different ballgame altogether, and that's a skill that I think you definitely learn in a PhD.
Okay, okay. Okay, now we have another question. Are there any differences in the application pattern for PhD in Ivy League colleges and non Ivy League colleges? And in the application process, how important is or are the essay?
Well, okay. So first of all, when it comes to an application package, uh, there is not like heaven and or difference in terms of how you're applying. But what Ivy Leagues does is their criteria is a little more stricter in the sense that they probably will want a better GPA or a better score in GRE, or a lot of, if you have good publications, probably that's going to help for sure. Also, I know in certain Ivy Leagues they do ask for subject GRE as well. I don't know if things have changed in the past recent years. ETS.org, the link I mentioned, should be able to provide all the information. But saying so, in terms of just the application package, there is not much difference. But definitely, yes, they might require a lot more, higher score, or a bigger quantity of publication and stuff like that. So
Okay, so
those
like just Ivy League, the difference is the demands are higher, right?
demands are a little higher, and it's not only about Ivy Leagues. There are also a couple universities which are on the higher end, which
And
might.
how important are the essays here, like in the application process? What role, what is the importance of the college essays that we submit?
So SOPs are important. Statement of purpose, especially in the field of PhD. For applying for a direct PhD, statement of purpose is the most important application. It's one of the most important application, other than your recommendations, of course. Statement of purpose, basically, I think what I have learned over the years here, and just speaking very personally, I feel like what really matters is um, the person who's going to hire you, or who's going to take you up in his or her lab, should feel that you are genuinely interested in the field. It all never hurts to do a little bit of digging up before you start applying. That's my 2 cents, actually. I feel like instead of just randomly applying to any labs, it's important to first of all have an idea about the kind of lab you're applying to. Go through their research page, go through their publication page, and see what kind of work they're doing. And this should reflect in the email or the SOP that you're writing, tailored to that particular professor or that particular PI at that point in time. What that does is gives the PI an impression that you did your homework, first of all, and second is you are genuinely interested in their work, not just to get in to have a degree in that particular university. I think what really matters is if you can show that you are genuinely interested in that particular topic or in that particular field of research, and the fact that you have invested your time and energy in going through his or her publications. And then you can also add, if you have your input, or if you think something could have been done in a better way, or something that you didn't understand, if you have question, you can always write that down in your email, or stuff, not your statement of purpose, but definitely in the email that you're tailoring towards that particular professor or PI. So I think these things really help and takes you a notch higher, and kind of gets you recognized in their eyes. And I think, I mean, all of us would agree, if somebody's tailoring something more towards us, like specifically, you'll of course feel more interested towards that particular candidate, because now you feel that the person is really interested and wants to genuinely wants to work in that particular field or that area.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ankita Di. And with that, we end your part of the discussion and we move on to our next speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please contact me if anybody has any questions. I'm always reachable. Thank you so much again for all of you, for all the professors there, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we move on to our next speaker for the evening, and she is Shrestha B. Shrestha Roy Goswami is pursuing her PhD from Institute of Forestry and Conservation, Chemical Engineering and Applied Chemistry from University of Toronto. Shrestha D, are you
Yeah,
there?
hi. Yeah,
Yeah. Hello,
can
D.
you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'm keeping my video off because of the internet. Anyway,
Okay.
so without further ado, I'll just want to thanks Dr. Ankita for such an insightful presentation. She was my senior, and I have seen her work in our lab with, and our mentor was common, like Dr. Mukesh Singh. And I'm incredibly happy today to be like on the event of the Teachers Day, to be thankful to our HOD during that time. I think Dr. Shiraj Datta and Pranab Roy, and they were the three professors I had who backed up, and I am today, whatever I am today, I'm because of them. So without further ado, I would like to give a quick presentation. So I'm going to present my screen. So can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for me, because I'm still a PhD candidate, I will share a little bit about the global prospects of biotechnology, especially pursuing a PhD and leveraging that degree in a non-academic setting. So even before I start talking about biotech in general, how many of you can relate to what biotech really is? Well, I can say like what it is in a layman's term. Like most people who have approached me over the years have an idea. Like biotechnologists either make vaccines or they are making genetically modified crops, and that's it. So even that was an answer when I started my own biotech degree. So I was of the idea that I have nothing other than doing some research work in a big pharmaceutical company. But the very idea of having me today in this webinar would be to explain that these two examples are not what biotech really is. These are the two options among the billion possibilities that exist worldwide, not just in India, even abroad. And so rest be ensured that there is something for everyone in this field. So now coming back to the point, what biotech really is then. It's actually, from my understanding, it's an applied knowledge of biological sciences and understanding the different sustainable routes to commercialize that science, be it academic, be it industry, be it in a non-profit organization. Like it doesn't really matter as long as you have a strong foundation of that area. But again, this is totally my opinion, but I can show you a little bit of a trail of what this looks like in a student's profile. So my foundation goes back to Haldia Institute of Technology. I was a student there from 2010 to 14, and it was a very easy decision for me because interestingly, I wasn't interested in biology at all in my class 11 and 12. I was interested in maths and chemistry, for example, but when it came to counseling after my JEE exams, I think I had only the option of chemical engineering and biotechnology. I don't know what struck me. I just took biotech because I knew Haldia was the best place to go for. And I did my previous homework in how the placement was in that uh, uh, particular university. And I think this well-rounded atmosphere, like it was a residential program, and it was very disciplined, the classes and the exposure you had out of during those 4 years, the industrial placements and the commitments, they was like extraordinary during those times, and even now I think that is paying off. So I think that was the foundation for my technical knowledge. And then after doing the BTech in biotechnology, the semester I wrote my last exam. The month after, I just flew to Canada to pursue my master's in bioresource engineering. So bioresource engineering again is equivalent to agricultural engineering in India and biosystem engineering in US. So I can say I have like been for a while in this field, but I'm still quite young and new. So the whole idea of having a master's was exploration. I would also like to mention here that I have left few job prospects during my BTech and just before my master's. And even after my master's, I had the opportunity to go back to India and start working for a MNC company. But even I left that option. I don't know why. I just felt like I should go on further and complete my higher education because of things I'm going to explain later. But I have no regrets losing out on jobs because I know what I'm doing, as long as I'm young and energetic, would be paying off in the long run. So once I was comfortable doing the master's, then I moved on to the PhD. I was not very happy about doing a PhD straight away. And the another point was that Canada doesn't usually enroll students directly to the PhD program. You first have to do a master's and then go to PhD, or you just complete 1 year's master's and then transfer to a PhD. So I completed my master's and I'm doing my PhD both in the top 30 universities in the world today. But believe me, it was like I think I was not, I didn't deserve this thing, but only because for the passion that I had about the subjects. And it was not just biotechnology, as you could see, it was like like the subjects that I learned during my biotechnology actually helped me understand what direction I want to go to. So right now, I would say like a little bit because of the COVID situation, I would say I'm in my final year of PhD, and I just went out of my funding, but thankfully because of support from all ends and because of the research I'm doing, I got again fully funded for next 2 years. So I think that's an incredible opportunity because I never thought about the jobs prospect as such or the possibilities as such, but because of the research, that is what is paying off. Like the hard work that you put into your research is what it pays off when in ways that you have never expected. So right now, my job is basically to produce food packaging materials, like bio-based food packaging materials. So I have learned a lot about material science and chemical engineering, and also I am using the bio source from which I'm making the packaging materials are actually from agricultural wastes. So kind of you can say there are 3 to 4 different interdisciplinary subjects coming here. Like you can say it's food technology, you can say it's chemical engineering, you can say it's material science, or you can even say it's biotechnology. So it doesn't matter. It's just what you're interested in going forward. Um, but because the theme for today was post graduation, I thought of giving a brief overview of what are the typical career routes I have seen my friends, colleagues, and all over the world to go for, and just not PhD. For in Canada, the highest professional designation after PhD is your PEng, which is a professional designation. So, which is basically gives you a license to practice engineering. But there are other courses as well. There are MEng, which is a course-based master's. Course-based master's means it's a 1 year program where the first 6 months you do the coursework and the next 6 months you go for the internship. For the master's, you have MSc and MSc. The one I completed, it was a research-based master's. For research-based masters, you typically need a research background and you need to complete a thesis with, I think, around 2 to 3 papers published by or even in the thesis form at the end of your master's. And then MTech is basically the MSc or MSc equivalent, but that kind of designation is for the Indian education that fits the Indian education criteria. And again, MBA is a good opportunity as well. I've seen many people, like my friends, go for an MBA after a few years of job in an MNC. So, and they're doing pretty fine. But even PhD is like the ultimate option. You can go directly from BTech. I think in US that's possible, what Dr. Ankita had just mentioned. But in most places, that's not an option. Like in Canada, it's not an option at all. But I still have seen people come here, do their masters, and go out with good jobs in hand. So that's a good thing about planning to do a higher education. So you can try small steps at a time. If it doesn't suit you, you can just change your priorities. But you would, like, the knowledge that you have gained will never leave your side. It's like always a win-win situation for you. And in terms of the admission requirements, I think it's pretty much the same all over the world. You have to give a GRE and you have to give an IELTS. For me, interestingly, I don't really wanted to focus on the GRE by itself, but on the research, because that is what I was going for, right? I'm not going uh, for like I was not good in every part of the GRE, like the maths, the English, and whatever. But I kind of happened to get good marks in that. And but for me, the SOP, the statement of purpose, and the research was what I wrote about, and my interactions with my professors, my interaction with my undergrad professors, all those, and the internships in industries as well as academic institutions, where all that came together to really help me in this journey. Now, coming back to the point of what are the typical job roles, like if you're not planning for an academic career, what are the other things you could do? So I just quickly went over the LinkedIn late afternoon yesterday, and these are some of the job roles that I find kind of figured out, which is very common, like field application scientist, a scientific writer, a project coordinator, professor, of course. It be a lecturer, or you can just tenure track professors, and then you can just get promoted to different categories of being a professor at universities. You could also work as a research associate, a sales manager, and a business specialist, and a market research analyst. So these fields are not very separated, or doesn't have, like, there's no hard and fast rules that if you have a knowledge of one particular field, you cannot transition to other fields. But I feel like they're kind of intermingled, and you just need to start somewhere. So once you start somewhere, you know where you want to go, what you want to do, and what you want to get out of this, like the job you are doing. Now, there are some companies that I am really interested as a biotechnologist right from the undergraduate days, and I think these are very global companies. Biocon is one of the leading companies right now in India, and I think some of my colleagues here have joined Shell, based in Hyderabad or Bangalore. And BASF is a good company. It's situated in Bombay. Tata Chemicals, Novozymes. I have actually applied for Novozymes for an internship. I didn't get through it, but they gave me an opportunity for a public speaking contest, and on biofuels, I remember in the year 2013. And I think that was also a very interesting exposure for me. So for me, it doesn't matter if they give me an opportunity or not, but I wanted to go try out and see what life looks like from that end, like if I wanted to do that particular job in that company or not. And Thermo Fisher Scientific is, of course, the number one company, even in Canada and in rest parts of the world. They have a very broad base, and they usually recruit scientists, technicians, and like sales manager, whatever the job roles I've exemplified here, like everything kind of Thermo Fisher recruits kind of everyone, and same goes for Unilever brands. So, and also the statistics for entry-level jobs right now in the worldwide looks interesting. It's around 30,497, and for PhDs around 1,000. and 1129. So these excludes the searches within interdisciplinary. So if you just go to LinkedIn and just type PhD biotechnology, you would see this many results worldwide. But if you have to individually search within fields, then I'm sure you would get many, many more. Now, so the finally one, my 2 cents would be, so what are the options for a biotechnologist as such? Like, forget about everything else, but what should I do to understand what are my options, like during and after getting the degree? So I would say for the new generation, like the new minds who are coming up right now, you should be thinking about what do you actually want for your professional growth. Like this is actually a bit difficult to understand when you are in your 20s, but start thinking about it. You can always change and um, prioritize your what you want later in later parts of your career, but starting is what is that's important. Don't be scared, just do the subject, go for an internship, explore different internship options, talk to people, and just explore. I'm sure pretty much everyone would be happy to give you suggestions and advice. And you are still a student. You're still allowed to make mistakes. It's not like you are in a job and you are just fined for, or you have to compensate for your mistakes. So take use of that opportunity, and don't be afraid of the transitions. Like if you see like what you have studied in a biotechnology in a subject as such, like immunology, animal biotechnology, plant biotechnology, chemistry, and molecular biology. My favorite subject was molecular biology and biochemistry, but I happen to love that, and also successfully transitioned to material science. So like right now I am at par with mechanical engineers trying to solve packaging problems. So you can see where this has went. And also try to explore different industrial training. Try to spend like don't sit around during the vacation. Just apply and go to trainings. Like that's the I think the most important part during your BTech training. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be in a prestigious university. You can find a lab next to your home and you can still work and find meaningful work there. But the point is, are you satisfied doing that? Do you know where you are going or what you want to do at that moment? Networking is also incredibly important, according to me. I think I'm very, my only asset right now and during the last 6 years was my network. I was afraid and confident at the same time. I went around asking people what they're doing, how they're doing, what are the perks, what are the cons, and even if someone belittled me, that didn't really matter because I knew that I'm still a student, and I'm obliged. They are obliged to guide me, and I am obliged to take their guidance. So network is incredibly important. Open a LinkedIn profile for students and just go around seeing what people are doing. Even to start with, just talk to your alumni, like from your own college or the college you intend to pursue this degree in. So that would be a good point to start. And coming back to the skills, definitely the skills building is takes time, but I would say a few of the important skills would be time management, project management, and what like in ways like communications is number one skill. So these are very basic things. This will you will happen to learn this when you do your start doing your job, be it research, be it in industry, and be it even when you're doing a even when we're doing a teaching assistant job while we're doing finishing our graduate school. That's a very important experience altogether. So participate uh, in organization, explore a little bit about where your strengths and weaknesses are. I would say that if you have identified your strength and weakness, just leverage your weakness a bit, because work on your weakness a bit. What do you think you're lacking the most, and what if that is important to bring you to some position which you want, which you want. I think that would be an important aspect to look into. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you have any questions, I'm very glad to answer. Thanks. So
Okay, thank you so much, Dee. That was really nice guide map of how you took things, and your personalized view will help many students who are thinking on the same tracks. Like ultimately, we are all into the same curriculum somehow. It's just like you've gone forth, and we're like going through them now. Questions. Just give me a sec. Okay.
yeah,
Can we take your questions after the next speaker?
yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So after the final speaker, we would be taking up the questions with you and with final speaker. All right. On we move to our next speaker. The final speaker for this evening, Kaustav Das. Kaustav Das is pursuing PhD from Tata Memorial Center, Advanced Center for Treatment, Research and Education in Cancer at Tata Memorial. Kaustav, are you here with us?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So I guess both Shrestha Di and Ankita Di have covered pretty much everything that I had in mind to say. But I mean, first of all, a very belated happy Teachers' Day to all the faculty members. I mean, wherever I am today, it's without a doubt it's due to them. And thanks for inviting me here. So I don't have a PPT actually, because it has just been few years that I've been out of HIT, and then uh, I've done my master's MTech from National Institute of Technology, Rourkela. And then for 6 months, I was actually in Dr. Reddy's Institute of Life Science in Hyderabad. I was in a GRF position, and after that, I think last year, August, I joined here. It's been 1 year in TMC AgTrek. So uh, what I'll be basically doing is that I'll be showing, going through the websites, right? And I'll be showing you that what are the things that you can actually do right down from here, where positions you are in, be it in the second year, third year, fourth year, or the first year, or in MTech, right? So going abroad is obviously a big option out there, but I mean, it's not entirely that we don't have anything in the country, but at the same time, I do agree there are huge problems with funding, both in terms of, I mean, project fundings as well as disbursement of fellowships. But in a kind of in a broad sense, I'll talk about three basic topics. First one is higher studies. Second one is on jobs, I mean, industrial training and stuff. And third one is entrepreneurship. Okay, so the last part is also pretty much coming up. I don't know how much it has reached out to you students in HIT, but people are gearing up to start startups. So a time is coming when we should think about job creators, not then rather than job seekers actually. Okay. So before I start to talk about the higher studies and what are the possibilities here in India, so I'll just want to talk about four basic things to all the students. First of all, we are learning a kind of a great deal of things, right? Molecular biology, biochemistry. At the same time, we have bioprocess, chemical engineering, data structure, computer, and other stuffs. So, so the basic funda is that try to understand what excites you more. Okay, so get that very clear. The more early you do that thing, the better the chances that you will be in a place where you actually want to. Okay. Secondly, use the internet. Okay, use the internet aptly. throughout time still now, even before that, it's slowly being getting developed, and it's improvising itself, and something that is something that if you use wisely, you can be, you can get any information right in your hand, and you know it better than me or anyone else. So, and it is also a reality that not everyone in the batch wants to do higher studies or just want to go for jobs or is interested in entrepreneurship only, right? So there's a every batch has a mix of it. So don't get dogmatized that this is the only one path that is out there. Okay. Um, the third point is do not shy away to ask questions, right? It's not about, I'm not talking about in a class scenario, rather in a very broad scenario. If you have any questions, reach out. Okay. Use Google, ask professors, ask your seniors. Do not make assumptions. Whatever happens, please ask your questions. And my final thing to say before I start uh, talking about the topic is that try to love the subject. Do not take it as a liability. Means, I mean, yeah, this. I mean, a lot of things comes into minds, jobs and stuff, but everything starts if you kind of focus on what you actually want to do. You take it as a part of your life. I think both of my seniors have pretty much emphasized on that. So keep it in mind. In the long run, we'll understand what we are saying. Okay. So the first part I'll be talking about the higher studies after if you have finished your BTech and your MTech or whatever. In India, BTech is at par with MSc, so you can go ahead and do your what is that PhD after it. So let me share my screen. Okay, so the predominant exams that are in I mean, for doing PhD in India is DBT JRF, the DBT Junior Research Fellowship. And this year, due to Corona, I think it got it got postponed to 3rd October. And so this is one of the fields, one of the exams that is pretty much predominant for us, especially for biotech people. The second one is the ICMR JRF. I mean, I know you people are aware of it, but still, just for if people who don't know actually and kind of get to uh, just to know what other things are out there. And then it is the CSR UGC net that is out there. And if you are interested in plants and doing uh, molecular biology and stuff like that in broad area of agriculture, and so this ICR exams are there, right? So I mean, these are the most the four predominant national fellowships, and I think from last year it's necessary that you have a national fellowship uh, before. I mean, you need a national fellowship to do your PhD. However, one thing that I do like to advise all of you is that try to do a JRF. It's not PhD JRF. It's Junior Research Fellowship. It's basically a temporary project position, which I did in Dr. Reddy's Institute of Life Science. What it basically does is that it actually gears you up to understand how, what, and how a PhD should be done. Or not like you will not get a very clear idea, but you will know how it is actually in terms of the real life scenario, how it feels to be, in what way you should think, how you should write. So I think that's important if you're really thinking for higher studies. I mean, I guess all of you know about Biotechnica, and there you'll see the jobs and all those stuff. They constantly give the various project positions, temporary project positions throughout the country. And then after that, if you think that no, it's not my cup of tea, you can just go ahead and switch. Uh, but if you think that okay, it's fine, then you can go ahead and do your PhD. Okay, no harms done. like I said before, in India, the main problem is about funding, both in terms of fellowship and also in terms of the project itself, writing and getting the funds. So that's something that uh, it kind of creates a problem for the fellow as well as for the people who are writing the funds, the supervisors. That's without a doubt. Um, Now, coming on to the job scenario, right? So the thing about jobs here in India is that our academic curriculum is designed in such a way, it's no one's fault basically, but at the same time we're not updating ourselves. So there is a significant lack in critical, analytical, and hands-on experience, uh, which is extensively required for industry. Even if you see, like I'll give you an example, like Infosys has this campus in Mysore where it trains basically the people whom they take, and they take from various departments, not just CS or IT. And what it basically means, what it basically signifies is that our engineers, not only biotechs, are not equipped to handle real life scenarios. And that is not going to change soon. That's without a doubt, we can say that it's not going to change. And another part which is important is that in the Asia Pacific region, yeah, we are one of the most what to say, dominant markets, both producers as well as consumers. But there are only a handful of companies out there. I mean, you talk of Biocon, Serum Institute, Bharat Biotech, or whatever. I mean, can't expect that a few companies can absorb everyone. Means I read a report back in 2013, I guess, and they were saying that 40,000 means every year biotech students are coming out, but the jobs are not as much as it is. But one thing that we should see here is that the companies like Biocon, it was started in 1978, Serum Institute in 1966, and Bharat Biotech in 1996. What I'm trying to say is that a company needs a time to absorb people till they go to a certain stage, right? So it needs to make revenues to take it. It's not their fault apparently. Somehow the policies or something. I'll not go into that part, but I mean, it has been pretty tough to accommodate everyone who is passing out from this field actually, and that's why India has not been able to kind of portray the real potential of biotech. I mean, 21st century was known to be the century for IT, BT, and nanotech, but unfortunately, our country has not been able to use its full potential. Now, in terms of jobs, right? So you do a BTech, and I mean, after doing BTech, it's I think it's tough to get a job. And so is after doing an MTech. Means I have been in NIT, and frankly speaking, I mean, getting campuses, NIT Rourkela, in terms of other engineering fields, a massive amount of companies comes, pretty big companies. But I mean, in biotech, no, it's the same scenario. It's not that great. But what I can do, what can I tell you, and that will, I hope that will help you, is this. This is the Biocon Academy. Okay, I mean, some of you may know it, but I feel that this is one place where you can apply, and it takes some fees. Okay, and what you will do is that I think the placements are pretty good here. They will train you according to the industrial standards, and this is one of the places that you can look into, right, to get yourself accommodated inside the in the industrial format. And the second one is the biotech industrial program. This is hosted by DBT itself, Department of Biotech, and so what it basically does is that it will take a online test and an interview, and after that, students will be sent to their the industries that they prefer, and I guess one of my friend did it, and they were giving 10,000 for 6 months, and after that, yeah, they usually integrate, but even if they're not, one thing that you do have in hand is experience in the industry, how the stuff works basically inside. an industry scenario, and that I hope that it will help you in the long run. So these are the two things that I can be sure about. So that's why I shared it with you, the Biotech Industrial Training Program and the Biocon Academy. Now, one thing that I should tell you that it's you can see your friends or your peers in the other departments. Biotech is not like that. It takes time to actually come up in this field and try to do something. Even if you go in industry or you join a JRF, it's kind of what you will say that you need some time to build up on this subject actually. And because I am kind of starting to do it, you can feel it around you yourself. So so these are the two things that I wanted to show. Another thing that I think you all can do try. It's not actually industry, rather it's studies. Is the Shrishti, Bairak Shrishti. If if you know any of you regarding this. So basically, it allows for grassroots level. We have this what we say the regional medicines. We say in Bengali we say totkas, and validating that. The government actually gives money to validate that. You can write through your supervisor, and this is a great way to actually know that if you do love to do science or not. And before you jump onto the big stage, I think this is a pretty good thing that the government have started. And so the third thing that I will come into is the entrepreneurship, right? So that's one of those things that I mean, we need to inculcate this idea that rather than asking for jobs, we need to create jobs. I mean, it was a mindset quite a while now since our independence, but I think it's time to gear up. And it's not only that even after BTech or after MTech, even people doing jobs or after PhDs have actually chosen this path. And but again, none of this is easy, right? Whatever you do, but kind of believe in yourself and try to what I will say. I mean, try to see the subject as something as an opportunity, that what you can do, what are the problems in the society and how you can solve the problem. And that's not only in the PhD projects or such, even in simple day-to-day problems, right? And that's where the entrepreneurship part comes in. And this is the EBT's portal where you can usually find the what you say the various fundings, the seed programs, and what you need to do. But apart from that, this is BIRAC, and what you saw was Srishti is another organization which has collaborated with BIRAC, and I've shown you that before, that for the grassroots level funding. And also in RGCB, regional, I think Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotech, sorry, it's in Thiruvananthapuram. And they are also having this biotech incubation center. The nearest incubation center, I think, from our place is the KIT TBI, the Kalinga Institute of Technology, and that's where one of the bio incubators is incubators solely for biotech. And also, this is I think this is in here in Mumbai. Okay, so the government do. I mean, the fundings are there, but the thing is that I am not aware whether it reaches to you or not, because even in NIT, only handful of people used to know about it, unless people who actually wanted to do entrepreneurship on this part. So you can see the fundings at this page. You can look around. There are number of incubators throughout India. Okay, so and regarding, these are the three broad aspects that I wanted to talk about, because pretty much, as I said, both my seniors have actually covered. So, one thing that is actually coming up big, and I can feel it within 1 year here in my PhD, is the bioinformatics. Okay, it's not just storing data and kind of processing it, and analyzing the huge data that are being produced, in a daily basis throughout the world. bioinformatics is not going to be. It is the era of bioinformatics, and without it, you can be in any field of in biology. But without bioinformatics, it's pretty hard to think of it. If I am going to give an example, that be it a plant disease, be it a animal disease, or whatever it is, you suppose you choose a gene, or you choose you choose a gene, and you wanted to know whether it is actually going to do or not. So you work for it for 2 years, and you see that no, it's in the in vivo or the in vitro stage, it's not showing any result, right? So what bioinformatics basically does is that through its huge data, it actually predicts that whether what you have chosen, okay, is actually going to translate anything or not. So before you actually do your research hands-on or in wet lab, you have a in silico run, okay, that whether it's going to be happening or not. And I mean, from the government's point of view, this institute is there, IBAB, Institute of Bioinformatics and Applied Biotechnology. So they send out training programs, right? You can go in there, stay there for a few days, and try to get in know what does big data handling actually means. And it's going to be pretty important, I'm telling you, because it's everywhere. Whether somebody is doing or not, it's completely irrelevant, because if you see the big journals, I mean, they extensively use it. And it's almost like the main, how do I decide that what should I actually hold in my hand and that will give me a result, is actually what bioinformatics actually getting us to. Okay, so this is all that I had to say, and thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kaustubh. Now, give us a moment, and we have our questions. Okay, so first, let's take up the questions with Shrestha, and then we come over to you, Kaustubh. Okay?
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Shrestha, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, can you tell me, like, there's a question: which degree is better, MS or MTech degree in this field after doing BTech? Like you mentioned both, I guess.
Oh, okay. So I think the question is which type of master's degree should you
Right.
get after
Like
BTech?
MTech from India or MS, I guess it's from abroad. So,
Okay.
which one, like, is there any difference? And if it is, then which one is better?
Okay, so I'll take this question like in parts. There is not much difference, technically speaking, but yes, there are difference in terms of the structure. Like MTech in India, I know there is mostly research based, and there is some. You can also do some internships, but and you need to crack the GATE exam for that. So I didn't sit for the GATE exam, but I know my friends has been there and they are doing really well. So that's the MTech in India. It's not bad in vice versa, because it depends on your subject. Like how confident you are in your subject, and during your MTech exam in the GATE, and where you land up during your admission is what is going to. I will be very honest. That is going to control a bit of your future. But yeah, being flexible is good. But in abroad, I think in US mostly the degree is MS, and in Canada there is nothing called an MS degree. It's termed that MSc. Don't confuse it with MSc in India. It's just the master's degree. And as I have mentioned, there are two master's degree. One is MEng, my Master's of Engineering, and Master of Science, which is the MSc. So Master of Engineering is actually at par with MTech in India. It's a 1.5-year program. So you complete your coursework and you complete your internship. But those kind of masters are not paid by the university. So you actually have to pay it by yourself. There are possibility of doing research during MEng also. Like instead of taking an industrial internship, you can actually take a internship in an academic lab and you can get paid. So that's different. But MSc or MASC, Masters of Applied Science, both are kind of same. And in those are actually research based. So you have to spend all the 2 years doing minimum coursework, like 2 to 3 courseworks, and mostly research. So you need to have a thesis, which is like 2 to 3 chapters of your research work. So I would say if you are looking to for an academic job after your master's or a PhD, it's always good to do MTech or MSc, research based. But if you're not at all interested in an academic at all, so I think it's good to go for MEng or yeah, that's pretty much from my side.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. There's another question for you, and that is, in this COVID situation, how can I opt for projects or internships, uh, or what else can I do to, get these projects or internship or fellowships, as they say?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. First of all, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. So a COVID situation, the first thing I would like to say, like everyone is at, everyone's situation is as bad as the students. For me, I was supposed to graduate this year, but my graduation stopped. So you can see where this is going. But I think what I did, I just took on this opportunity. I applied for a special funding from the government of Canada, and I got industrial internship during my PhD, the MyTax internship. So I think I should talk about that too. MyTax is also for undergraduates. If you want to come to Canada, I'm not sponsoring for Canada, but I think if I would have known about this during my BTech, it would have been incredible. But MyTax actually pays you to come and do research in Canada. It's like both ways, India and Canada. And also there is one institute called Shastri Biotech, Shastri Institute of yeah, I think it's something like Shastri Biotech Institute. They actually collaborate between India and Canada to send undergraduate students, master students, postdocs, and even faculty members. So that's a good option. But right now, because travel is restricted, what you can do, you can apply for you can start applying for next year, because that will, the first thing is that you start applying for the next year, because then you have a competitive edge over those who are not active during this time. So that's one thing. Second is start applying, like if you are enrolled in a BTech program, do the internship in the college itself if that is allowed. Like I was doing my research from third year, like I think at this, not even third year, like, and during the last phases of my second year till my fourth year. So try to get a research something out, like do the research right now. It's not important if it's going to you be in the academic career or not, but something to show as a portfolio, like you are doing this, you are studying this, and you're going to do the you're doing right now doing this. So that's good enough. And third is try to build on your network, like what you are studying and what you are interested in, and try to talk to people and see if they have an opportunity for you when the COVID improves. Like I'm 100% sure there would be a door out. Even if not an internship, you can try for a technical writing job right away. I know a couple of my juniors who did internships, not internships, just part jobs in conferences, arranging conferences. And I think that's an excellent opportunity as well. I would have done that if I have not known that opportunity. So yeah, that's pretty much, yeah, from my side. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Dee. So, as what I could conclude from your answer was that building network is fundamental in this field if you want to progress into these. Like, it is one of the fundamental steps, right?
Yeah, exactly. While you are still a student, I think your first and foremost job is to build on the network while you are still studying, and not to worry too much about the job at the moment. You can start to worry about that in your third and fourth year. But I think it takes time. But if you have a network in place, you can always rely on that. So that is going to serve well, like 100%. So yeah, build on that. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Dee. That's all for you.
Thanks.
And next, we have a few questions for Kaustavda. Kaustavda, are you there?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first question for you is: after BTech, is there any scope in industrial level? And being a biotechnology student, how can somewhere prepare for a job during the BTech degree?
Okay, preparing for a job during the BTech degree. Okay.
Like, how do they start preparing or prepping themselves, if they want to commence into the industry right after the BTech? Like, that is the first part of the question. Is there any scope in industrial level right after BTech?
The frankly, what I have in my experience, no, it's not there. Okay, I mean, it's because if you do just a BTech and go there, I mean, the problem is that getting up the ladder is, I think, it will be quite a problem. I'm not entirely sure because it's particularly due to my experience that I'm talking. But in what I showed in with respect to the Biocon Academy and also the BTIP program, I mean that gives you a pretty much to be accepted in the industry. But unfortunately, I'm not in industry particularly. So, I mean, I can just tell you that what are the things that I have been experienced, not exactly what's happening. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Like,
Isra, 1 minute. I feel Obijit is here, so Obijit can answer these things in a better way.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So actually, I was trying to pitch in, I was waiting him to finish it. So what he rightly pointed is it's tricky. The answer is not exactly no, but it's really tricky. So with a BTech degree, biotechnology industry, 10 years back, it was really challenging, but on today, it is yes, possible. But if a candidate has a clear mindset of getting into the climbing up in the ladder of the R&D domain, so with a BTech to start with, it's okay, but way forward an MTech or a PhD while working side by side really adds on. Otherwise, in the career domain, it becomes challenging. If the interest is not to the core R&D, because now biotechnology sector, apart from R&D side of biopharmaceuticals, there is a huge area in manufacturing, quality control, quality assurance, and all these areas where it's still good to go with BTech, which is not core domain, and then side by side an MBA would help to move in the career. So in that way, I would take this question that with a core interest in R&D, MTech is required, if not PhD, but not R&D domain of biotechnology in the same domain. With a BTech to start with is not a bad, especially in the domain of manufacturing area. However, MTech adds on. So a couple of other points also I wanted to add on with the earlier questions, which was MTech versus MS. I think what she pointed out is absolutely all right. The Indian perspective, so a couple of universities, I think IIT is an MS program also apart from regular MTech program. So if the interest is into PhD and higher studies, I think MS is always preferable because it gives more leverage doing independent research as a part of the program. Whereas MTech, initial 1 year gets into the semester coursework, and then the second year is into the application, which is to the project work. So that could be either in the institute or in the academic or in the industry. And BCIL is one of the organizations that plays a key role in placing these people with sort of an industrial exposure. That way, MTech is a little more easier to get into industry. And these case, it could be R&D, quality, manufacturing, it could be a diverse domain. But whereas a candidate who has a clear mindset want to get research and PhD and has both options of MTech and MS from the same institute, MS could be a better choice. So I'll hand over to Ishna for the next questions.
okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay, Shiraj sir, are you there?
Mukesh with the
Yes,
Mukesh.
sir, could you, before we move on, could you please give us, that was a wonderful answer from Avijit sir. Could you please give us a brief introduction about Avijit sir? Shiraj sir?
Um, I I hope Obijit giving a special seminar on next week.
Yeah. So maybe I will give a quick introduction. So next week, while during my seminar, I'll have a complete intro. So I'm into biopharmaceutical industry last 15 years. had the opportunity to become the first alumnus of the institute and the very first batch in 2005. And I did BTech and later I did MTech from the same institute. I worked with different biopharmaceutical companies which has a prominent footprint in this area, like Biocon, Dr. Reddy's, and Pfizer, which is an international company. And currently, I work for Lupin, Pune in India, in the R&D department. So my group works on the establishing functionality, functional activity, and establishing a biomolecule with the respect of biological activity in the product development portfolio.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And we would love to hear more from you in our next session. And I hope that we can have a nice time with you in our next webinar session. Thank you so much,
Sure.
sir, for
Welcome.
sharing your answer in this particular session as well. Okay, Kaustubh, are you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, one more question for you. What are the steps one has to take to become an entrepreneur in this field or take up an entrepreneurial job in this field of biotech?
Yeah, entrepreneur is actually what to say. It's actually uh, what I should say. Yeah, it's to create jobs, right?
Yeah.
So in that scenario, what basically the bio incubators that are around India. So you start with an idea, right? So you have proof of concept, and then you go on to build your product, right? It takes time. It does takes time, but if you go through the website of Biorac that I showed you, I'll show it again once.
Okay. That was really good. Thank you so much for clearing all our doubts and our questions, answering all our questions patiently. Thank you so much to all our speakers now. Next, we move on to Mukesh sir. Mukesh sir, are you there?
Krishna, I want to little bit add on the entrepreneurship if you have time.
Sure.
So
Please go on, sir.
I think Kostav has nicely covered in the presentation, just showcasing the different platforms in the area of entrepreneurship, funding, BIRAC, and different areas. And the other part to it, I just want to give a message to the students. The entrepreneurship is inbuilt and it comes from inside. A student, when in the college, the institute feels that, no, I can do something in a different way, which is beyond the out of the box thinking, which is a beyond regular thing. That's where entrepreneurship starts. So basically, the way I see entrepreneurship is when you BTech gives you an overall understanding of this biotechnology, and then let's say you like something out of BTech program, and then you go for a specialization in masters or maybe in further in PhD. And what Costa pointed out that now you have got some ideas. So now there are a lot of entrepreneurship platform. When you have an idea, you need a fund to start with. There are different bio incubators are there. So what is missing, I see this in industry or in this area, when a talent comes from entrepreneurship, there is very less guidance in this particular area so that a talent become a complete entrepreneur in this area. For that, I think we are all there, seniors, to help people who really get into this entrepreneurship area. There are different ways to get funds. And especially now, if you look at this COVID perspective, now vaccine industry is coming up big time. So which was probably underrated or underestimated in the field of biotechnology. So these are the new areas because now COVID just one microorganism stopped the entire world. So I do see a lot of potential in the entrepreneurship area in biotechnology sector as compared to other engineering and other science sectors.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you, Abhijit. And I feel we can arrange some one session for entrepreneurship to inviting some of our ex-students who are really doing as an entrepreneur.
Yes. Absolutely, yes, sir. I agree. Yes.
I hope 3 or 4 students,
Yeah.
students, they are now work as a good entrepreneur in this particular field. So
Yes.
I try to contact them, and we can make a session for that. Huh?
Yes, absolutely, yes, I agree. And also one message I want to convey in this. So we have a HIT Biotech Alumni WhatsApp group also. So
Yes.
let us all get to the platform, whoever is not into that, and just help people each other. So I've been trying to promote this. I think we created this group last year, I guess.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
Okay, sir. Avijit sir, we would love to hear more from you, but in the next session, like I know and I'm sure that we would have a lot more time to hear about your fair share of knowledge. That I can promise that there's so much to learn from you and so much to know from you. So we're looking forward to the next session where you would be there with us for longer duration. And now, unfortunately, we have to wrap up this session. We've come to the end of today's webinar session. With that, I would request Mukesh sir to give a vote of thanks. Sir, are you here? Mukesh sir?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Esna. So today was our second week of webinar series, and the theme was Perspective of Biotech in post-COVID era. Okay, the main focus of our webinar is to impart knowledge about the subject biotechnology to the students who have passed their school final exam and ready to join a professional career. Okay, so that they can come to know what is biotechnology and what are the future prospects of biotechnology. And also to our present biotech student. I thanks Ankita, Shrestha, Kaustav, and Abhijit for their best, for giving their best on these platforms, and hope our audience have very well understood the prospect in higher study and also in entrepreneurship at the end. And thus, their knowledge have been enriched and the audience is getting in detailed knowledge about the course. Okay, so our next webinar will be on focus on job prospect of the BTech and MTech, both in biotech sector and the software, as well as the entrepreneurship, which is discussed now only. So lastly, I want to thank my faculty members, my friends and my staff and my teamwork, without whom it was not possible, and especially Esna, Debango, Akash, and others, and Devras. Okay, thanks. And hope the audience will again join the next week, where you will get the detailed information regarding the biotech sector, biotech companies, where most of our eminent seniors will give you the in detail knowledge out there, how to join and how to go prepare for the biotech industry. Thank you. Okay, so
Thank you.
Krishna,
Yes, yes, sir.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. The thing is that I'll share a couple of websites for the European PhD opportunities. Okay, so I'm writing it in the chat. I hope you people can. You can see, everyone can see the chat, right?
Yes, sir. You can just leave it there and we could take it up from there. That
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, all our speakers. It was really great and motivating and encouraging to hear from you about your personal journeys and about how we as students can go ahead in future with these prospects. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening and for making this evening a successful one. And we are looking forward to another successful session in the coming week. And stay tuned with us and have a good night. Thank you so much.